now listening to In the Trench.
Hello, welcome to another episode of In the Trench. Today is such a good episode, and I keep saying that every episode is my favorite episode, but honestly, it feels that way. Everybody we keep getting is just so cool, and it's nobody's one-upping anybody. Everybody's just so sick, and it's just, I guess it's recency bias. But today we have Xanxotics. He's a TikTok star based on straight up conspiracies. All of his links are in the description, but definitely check him out. He has super cool content, and he goes crazy in depth on everything that he does an insane amount of research. We talked about so many scary and interesting things today, and I know I got chills with some of our conversations, especially regarding Wendigos and skinwalkers and Beyonce maybe being a demon. There's just a bunch of scary shit we talked about. Before I jump into that podcast, really quickly, thank you again to Kayla and Kyle over at Amore Pizza Davy, AmorePizzaDavy.com. Get your pizza, get your Italian food, whatever has you. Again, this mic was brought to me by Alliance Technology, AllianceTechnology.com. They are going to be upgrading us in a little bit as well, so extra shout out to them. And if you watch Attack on Titan, go to scoutsarmory.teespring.com. Great merch. Is that it? I think that's it. Anyway, thanks again to Xanxotics for coming on. Such a cool podcast, and we will be doing another podcast soon with him. Here we go. Officially, we started, 3 weeks ago?
Wow, okay.
About 3 weeks ago, and we've had it. I don't even know how we've done it, but we've managed to get so many guests on.
That's awesome.
Originally, we wanted to do it just one episode a week, just every Monday morning. But now we've been doing every Monday and Wednesday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then now we're even considering doing every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, just because it's like so many people just keep coming on.
So you guys are in South Florida, right?
Yeah, South Florida.
What part?
We're close to We're right next to Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay. I used to work in a tattoo shop on Fort Lauderdale Beach. And then I lived in Lake Worth, Deerfield, all over. Boca Raton is where I originally moved into.
What tattoo shop?
At the time it was called DNS Tattoos. They have another one inside of the Hard Rock Casino. Okay. And they also own one on Deerfield Beach that was called Rockstar Tattoo.
Nice.
So yeah, that's kind of where I started my tattooing career and being a counter boy and all that stuff.
Nice. And do you still do tattoos?
No, now so I went total opposite direction. I a couple years ago, 10 years ago, I've always had a huge drive for animals. I love fish, dogs. Like I shot you that thing. Oh, check out my kennel, senpai kennel, because I breed dogs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I've loved animals. And one of my best friend's dad was kind of running a shop or co-owned a pet store and was like, hey, I need a reptile manager. And so I came in as a reptile manager and got into saltwater fish, and I kind of just never left. I ran that store for about 5 years, and then I moved on to doing maintenance. So I go to people's houses or their work, and I take care of their saltwater fish tank, their pond, or their freshwater tank. And yeah, so that's what I do now is I drive all over Northern California. Basically, within 2 hours of where I live, I drive around and I'll go to their house and, take care of their tank. It pays pretty well. It's like $150 an hour. So
that's sick. That's super sick.
Yeah, it's a neat job.
No, we've been trying to get my three guests I've been really trying to get are a astronaut, a paleontologist, and a Egyptologist / zoologist.
Sick.
So I've been trying to get people who know about animals, and I have a friend who's nearby who's all about animals, and he handles exotic snakes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I think we're gonna make something happen because we love animals too, and
that's right. I'm drawing a blank right now for some reason, but the guy that owns Iguana Island, have you ever heard of that?
No.
There's a guy that owns Iguana Island, which is out in South Florida, and it's basically going to be like a reptile zoo. Mm-hmm. That guy does a lot of cool, he'll go on podcasts and talk about animals and stuff. And from what I've been told, he's just about doing it. He's not really like the type of person be like, no, you got to pay me. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay, cool.
It's cool. Yeah.
No, that is dope. No, I mean we'll definitely hit it up and see what he's about.
Tight.
So you ready?
Yeah, I'm super ready. Are you guys? Do you guys do an intro to get into it, or what's?
So the way we do the intros, we do them before the podcasts,
Cool.
and then you just kind of come on. So
Yeah.
the intro's been done.
Oh, cool. You already did it.
Yeah,
Cool.
we do all the intros before.
Okay, cool. So I don't have to worry about that. Nice.
So what do you want to start with? Do we go straight into? Personally, I want to dive into Wendigo / Skinwalkers.
Which is cool because I was telling your partner Nikki that it was either she did really good research on me or it was divine intervention because I have my own Wendigo experience I can talk about. Yeah, and so that's why it's cool. Like she picked all these subjects. I mean, I'm sure she saw like my Miami condo one, and she picked some subjects where it's like, oh, I've had experience, or like the Bohemian Grove. I've been researching the Bohemian Grove for, I don't know, 8 years.
You were just there, right?
Yeah, I just went out there recently. I know people that like are part of the club. I know people that have worked there, and I know people that are in the black market that bring stuff there, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so I've got a couple stories about that. But yeah, let's start with the Wendigo.
So let's start with the Wendigo. So it's funny you mentioned that. I sent Nikki that list this morning because she's like, because you asked for the topics on here.
Yeah.
Send him this because I think he's gonna enjoy this.
Yep.
And no, definitely. So let's start with Wendigo. So what do you mean you have your own experience? Because that sounds terrifying.
Well, so I mean, so you obviously know about the whole folklore around Wendigos or skinwalkers in general, right?
So I'll go over just really lightly just for people who don't know. So essentially, it's a Native American legend, correct? And it's pretty much like this. She's right here next to me, so she doesn't know too much. So I'm kind of
nice.
So it's essentially like this creature, this cryptid that looks sometimes like a human, sometimes doesn't, and can imitate your voice sometimes. And they pretty much live in the Appalachians, right? In like a super crazy cave system that is pretty much part of why people go missing every year in these national parks. And there's a conspiracy behind even that Teddy Roosevelt knows about this problem. And he said, listen, the people we can't just close off the entire parks because then people will ask too many questions. So it's like it's almost like to them a justifiable loss for people who get lost.
Yeah, exactly.
So essentially these cryptids lure you out by pretending to be somebody in danger or by calling your name. And that's
and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of times they take like they'll take the apparition of an animal or something like that.
Yeah, they've been said it look like sometimes like moose or like I saw something that some lady claimed that her dog was possessed by one.
Oh, really?
And that was because she had like videos of like her dog like opening her door at night and like just staring at her, and it was like creepy.
Oh, a little creepy. And you know, I think that's one of the amazing things about TikTok, bro. Is I'll start with that first. Is that TikTok has allowed a lot of fraudulent conspiracy theories to grow, but it's also allowed people to put out their proof or their versions, right? And there was this guy, one morning I woke up, and like every morning I get on TikTok and I'm scrolling through, and all of a sudden this guy is like frantically talking about his experience the night before, about how his girlfriend came and was like, hey, I think there's a deer in the backyard. And he was like, yeah, okay. And she's like, but it's standing. And he was like, what? And so he got up and he walked, and the deer was standing on its hind legs. And he was like, what the heck? And so he was about to go out the door. And as he was getting ready to go out the door, his girlfriend looked and it was gone again. It was like disappeared. And so he was like, okay, well, maybe it's just gone. And so they sat back down, and then all of a sudden it knocking, you know what I mean? And then so the guy gets all nervous, and he's telling the story, and he's like, you know, I've heard of this thing called Wendigos, where like they'll lure people out with either screaming, or they'll knock on stuff. And so he was like, of course I didn't freaking go outside, because it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I have no idea what's going on, and that's some creepy ass shit, seeing a deer stand up on its hind legs. And so then he goes on to say that like it never came back that night. Well, that morning he got up to go out to work, and as he went out to work, across his lawns he saw hoof prints, but there were only 2 side by side, not 4. So like it was like walking across, and he was tripping out, and the dude was like frantic, right? And so it's cool that now, so I saw that, right? And my experience was back in 2001. I'm 35. So back in 2001, I was, I think, a freshman. Yeah, I was a freshman in high school. My younger brother was in Cub Scouts, and my mom and him wanted to go on this camping trip with the rest of the Cub Scouts. And I was a punk teenager at that time, and I was like, I guess I'll go. And I was being all bratty, and so like I was miserable the whole time, of course. And so I'm sitting there, and this guy, who his name was Jim, he was one of the dads of one of the kids. He could tell I was, miserable being hanging around with all these kids. And he was like, hey, why don't I take you out and we go look for deer? And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I got these high powered binoculars and we can go look for deer. And I was like, okay. He was like, but let's wait till later tonight, so that way, there's a better chance for him out. He told me that early in the morning and late at night's the best chance. Midday, they're not really going to be out. They're going to be bed down. And so I was like, cool, let's do it. Later that night, we go out and he teaches me how to look through binoculars and stuff, which sounds insane that you couldn't just, you have to learn, I guess. But I was looking, and so he's starting to point out different areas to watch for deers. And he's like, oh, look, there's one here. And he has me looking. And so we're doing this for about an hour. And then Jim's like, hey, we should probably get back to the camp so your mom doesn't worry. And I was like, okay, let's go. So we get in the truck and we start heading back. And it's like dark at this point. And we're heading back, and it's a dirt road. And, we're just doing 10 miles per hour. And all of a sudden he slams on the brake and he's like, did you see that? And I was like, no, what? And he was like, there was a deer that just walked across the front of the road about 30 feet down. And I'm like, no. And I'm thinking still at the time, all 4 legs walking. I'm not thinking what we're talking about, the Wendigo. So I'm like, okay, we've seen deer all night. And he was like, no, this was on its hind legs. And I was like, okay, maybe it bucked up. I'm still not thinking, I'm a kid. So I'm like, okay. And so he was like, I'm going to get out and look. And I'm like, still not thinking. I'm like, okay, cool. So we get out, and he's like got his binoculars, which had night vision on them. So he's like looking around and stuff. He doesn't see anything. And then about 10 feet in front of us, we start hearing a rustling in the bushes. And of course, right then my gut sank. I'm like, okay, is this a mountain lion? What the hell? Or is this the deer about to charge us? And I swear to God, Esteban, this thing walks out on its hind legs, and it looked like a deer, walked out in its hind legs about 10 feet from us. It made eye contact with us, and its eyes were just straight black, right? Deer eyes, but it's straight black across its eyes, no white behind it. And it just stops, and we're staring dead at this thing. And I was like, can we go? I swear to God, no quicker than I said that, the thing just turned around and walked, bro. Like, not walked back into the brush. And like we get into the car, and he's like, I've never seen that. And I'm like, no shit, like that was some other shit. Now, mind you, at the time I had no idea about Wendigos or any of that stuff. It wasn't until much later in my life that I found out about that, and I like look back on that experience like, oh shit, that's probably what it was. I remember getting back to camp, and I was telling everybody, and we're telling, he's telling his wife and stuff. No one believed us, bro. Everybody was like, deers don't walk on their hind legs. They're not, for sure as hell, they're not going to walk, into a bush, walk 30 feet towards you or 20 feet towards you, and then walk out the bush. And so people thought we were crazy, but I swear on everything that I love that really happened,
That is absolutely horrifying.
Yeah.
That is, I like, I'm the first person to say I'm a fucking pussy when it comes to the ghosts, the woods.
Me too, bro.
The supernatural, I can't handle.
Yeah,
I'd rather be put. So I have this sick fantasy where like I want dinosaurs to come back just for the chance to be put on an island with a T-Rex and have him chase me. I have that, so I'll go through that.
Yeah.
Tell me I have to sleep a night in a haunted house for $1 billion? No.
Yeah.
I just can't handle that stuff. So
I totally get it. The county that I live in, Sonoma County, we have a lot of native land around us that's protected and stuff like that. Like in Nevada, which is about 30 minutes from me, there's a hill there that's an Indian cemetery, so it's a burial ground. And in that area, there's a lot of folklore about Wendigos and people seeing stuff. So like the Great Inn Casino is another place that has obviously, because it's native land, has a lot of tribe members out there. And I go to a little fast food place called Amy's Kitchen right there, and I've met a couple of the guys that from the res, and they'll tell me stories about Bigfoot. They'll tell me stories about Wendigos, like it happens. You know what I mean? Like it's no big deal, and I believe them because the conviction in like, what do they have to lie about? You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no reason.
Yeah.
So I recently got back from. I was supposed to go to Japan with my best friends for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And Japan got shut down completely. No one's flying to Japan. So
Yeah.
we were stuck here. We all requested vacation. So we had 2 weeks to like, what are we gonna do? So we switched our tickets and went to Seattle because my friend had been to Seattle and he loves Seattle. So it's like, whatever, we'll go to Seattle. The entire time, because Seattle is still on the Appalachian. So like Mount Rainier, and we went to Mount Rainier, we went to Mount Si, and we went to I want to say Yellowstone. Or what's the other one? What's the other volcano? Mount St. Helens.
Yeah.
And the entire time, I was like, yo, we have to stay on the trail. We have there's no leaving the trail because that's the number one thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like they know also.
Yep.
The trail.
Yeah.
But and we made sure to always stay in like a back group. Like we would never let anybody get too far ahead of us, anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's to me like the number one thing I was thinking about in those national parks.
Was Wendigos?
Yeah, that Bigfoot. I'm a huge Bigfoot nut.
Bro, you are?
Yeah.
So did you see my posting about how I'm going hunting for Bigfoot?
You going squatching?
Yeah, I'm going squatching. So here in Northern California, there's an area called Willow Creek, which is like Roswell, New Mexico to UFOs, right? It's Bigfoot capital world. So we're gonna go stay at the Bigfoot Motel. There's a museum that has the largest collection of Bigfoot evidence. I talked to the owner, and so we're going to do a tour with her so I can do some content. And then they unfortunately don't have any tours of like squatching, where to go. And so what I've done is I started talking to locals and talking to other people that have had sightings, and I started mapping out sightings. So me and my dad are just going to go have our own Sasquatching. We're just going to drive around to different sighting spots. And while I believe my dad is a huge enthusiast on Sasquatch, and so I'm doing it because I want him to have this experience, but I also want to be able to have the content and go over it, because I feel like not too much, like me, there's a lot of people that do the whole conspiracy spiel on TikTok, but there's nobody really going out into the field. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so that's going to be my game plan. Like I'm doing the Sasquatch one. I'm about to drive down to the Macroney Center, which is where one of the most deadly cults lived, and which isn't far from me. So I'm going to try to start doing a lot of things where I go in person. I was trying to talk my partner into going to Mexico so we can go. Damn, I just lost the name. El Chupacabra. Yeah, I want to go, bro. I don't know if we'd see it, just like I don't know if we're going to see Sasquatch, but I want to do stuff like that. I want to go.
Listen, you might be that one lucky motherfucker that sees that Sasquatch, and there's a $10 million bounty on Sasquatch, right?
I had no clue, but
there's Animal Planet said anybody who either captures or gets legitimate proof of Sasquatch, $10 million.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like I'm going to be recording every moment.
You have to record every moment. No, it's funny you mentioned Willow Creek because there's a movie called Willow Creek. And you seen it?
No.
It's really, really good, and it's literally what you're describing. It's a guy and his girlfriend that goes into town. The guy's obsessed with squatching, and they stay at the Bigfoot Motel. They talk to all the locals, and then literally what you're describing the movie. Yeah. You're doing this, and then they're gonna go to the Patterson Gimli site.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's like the most famous Squatch site ever, because that's where the 1960s video was caught. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing was they didn't know how to get down there. They just knew that they had to go through like the forest, and they go park, and they get hustled by some dude, and the guy's like, "Get out of here! Like we don't need you here." So they continue going through, they get lost in the forest, they start hearing things. And at the end of the movie, not to spoil, I'm gonna spoil it, but
Go for it.
at the end of the movie, it's like nighttime, they're already lost in the woods.
Uh-huh.
And they find themselves in this creek, and they were at the Patterson Gimli site. They made it.
Oh, really?
At this point, they're running from something, and he looks down, and there's a huge Bigfoot footprint in front of him. And then he turns around. He turns around, and he sees the bride of Bigfoot. Because you know the myth that Bigfoot has a bride,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he sees just this woman standing there naked, and then you hear a giant roar, and then it cuts. You never see Bigfoot, which is annoying. But
so speaking of the Gimli sighting and all that, have you heard the conspiracy around it? How it was actually a murder?
no.
Oh, so there's a conspiracy going around that the footage. So remember how there's blood on the ground and the guys are washing their hands off and getting blood, and everybody assumes that they were just out hunting for deer or something like that, and then they catch this video. And so there's a conspiracy going around because of the way they handled themselves, the type, like the blood patterns and everything, that it was actually two guys that had created a murder or killed somebody and were filming it to make like a snuff tape, and then caught this on, which is a little far stretched to me, but still, there's like a whole conspiracy based off that video. And I the other night I was like, while I don't believe it necessarily, I love conspiracies. Let's go look into it. And I started looking into it, and then the minute they were like, yeah, the guys were serial killers that were making snuff videos, I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm done.
I mean, that would have been one eventful day. They just killed someone and then catch Bigfoot right after.
Exactly.
But yeah, what you're describing, because I've talked about with my friends, like we all go, let's go squatching one day, go to Virginia or go to Northern California, or just a bunch of different places across the US that are like hotspots.
Well, it sounds like you might have a new friend that would be willing to do that with you.
For sure. No, but if we go, we're gonna go like
I get what you're saying. Yeah. I want to make sure that this motherfucker gets found.
I'm not even going to hunt him. I just don't want to be his prey.
Yeah.
Like, if I see him, I'm not going to try to kill Bigfoot.
Of course.
I wouldn't want to do that. But if that motherfucker sees me
and he comes at me,
all of us, you know?
It's weird because there's so many people that have had sightings about it, right? About Bigfoot or Sasquatch. And there's nobody with hard, sufficient evidence, like a body, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there's a part of me that, because this is one of the things that, okay, so I love conspiracy theories. I'm all about it. I deep dive into all that. I love rabbit holes. I research the shit out of it. But I have a really logical mind, and I can look at stuff and I'll break shit down and I find the flaws and everything. And so it's like I'm constantly getting stuck into these conspiracy theories that I just ruin for myself, because I'm like, okay, there's no body, like da 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 da. But then I try to go back to the conspiracy and just get more embedded into it. So it's like this game of, believing but not.
It's in my opinion, like I tell everybody this, I rather believe than not. The only reason is because if you don't believe in anything, life is boring.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody that, listen, there's no hard evidence, but there's also no hard evidence to the contrary.
Yeah.
So like,
look at aliens, bro.
You know Bob Lazar?
Huh?
You know anything about Bob Lazar?
Yeah, of course.
No, okay, good. Yeah. We talked about that in my first episode. I could talk about Bob Lazar for hours.
Yeah.
But I like 100% believe it. Like 1%.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And the funny part is I've believed since I was a kid, and there was a point in time where guys like me and you would get called tinfoil hat and like be criticized and outed for believing in aliens. And now we're in 2021, and there's this revealing of UFOs
just released.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so I'm not crazy, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like the biggest with Bob Lazar in specific, you watched the documentary on Netflix?
Yeah.
Such a good one.
Yeah.
But, with him in specific, he was talking like the shit he said. First of all, his story didn't change for 30 years.
Yeah,
it's never changed once.
Yeah,
it's been super like stagnant.
On point,
exactly. And he said shit back in the 80s that people were like, oh, everybody said, no, you're lying, you're this and that. But then it would come to realization later. Like he was talking about element 115, which to me, that's like the most interesting thing ever. We have And he talked about it in the 80s. Nobody believed him. And then in 2005, it was added to the periodic table.
Yep.
And then he was talking about when he walked into S4, which is his lab. It's like a off branch of Area 51.
It was
that
called what?
S4.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
That when he would walk in, they would they have a machine that measures the length of his bones in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way they like a fingerprint thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is that? No, that's bullshit. No. And then in 2007, pictures came up of that machine. And it's a bunch of shit that he said. And the fact that he brought people, he used to bring his friends because he knew the testing days. He would bring them to the mountains and show them, like, watch, look here. And that's how he got caught eventually.
Really? I didn't know that part. I guess I missed that in the documentary. Wow.
No. So what he would do is that because he used to be there, they used to invite him out to when they used to test the UFOs.
Okay.
And he would watch
I
them.
remember this, yeah.
They would watch him fly the UFOs, and then he started catching on, he'd have a schedule for the test dates. So he would tell his friends. He got to one point where he felt like he wasn't getting anywhere. So he's like, guys, if you know that job I was telling you about, let me show you. So he takes a bunch of his friends over to like a mountain behind Area 51, because this is before they expanded Area 51 beyond the mountains.
Yeah.
So they brought to a mountain. They brought like a campfire. They did a bunch of shit, and they just sat there and watched the UFOs fly all day. And there's footage. He has footage of it, but it was at nighttime, so it's just a light like moving, so it's whatever. But according to him, that's how he got caught. That one day he took all his friends out. It was pitch black, and then he sees like these green lights around him, and there's a bunch of army people in night vision goggles.
Oh wow!
He took him in, and that's why he went on like every news channel he could to say, because he felt like that was going to be his insurance. Because if he spouts everything out and they kill him, it's going to look very sus.
Yeah. What the funny part is about it, and then what happens to him afterwards? he's like crucified for being crazy. People run whole series in newspapers and news articles on TV about how crazy this dude is and how he's not in his right mind. And then we're now here in 2021 where it's like, okay, UFOs are real. Sorry, aren't. UFOs are real, and he wasn't crazy.
No.
You know who else went through something like that? Is do you know who Richard Byrd is?
The name rings a bell, but no.
Yeah, Richard Byrd. You probably have heard of it because it has to do with Antarctica. And Richard Byrd was the Air Force pilot that was sent out to Antarctica to do an expedition. And this was back when the Nazis were trying to make their way out there also to go do an expedition. So the United States government sent him and a team of like 7 other people from the Air Force. There was like a scientist and 2 other guys. Well, the story goes he got lost, right? And once he was out there, he disappeared for like 15 days or something like that. And there was no radio contact, no nothing. And mind you, he's flying in an airplane. So when he gets back 15 days later, he starts telling these stories of hollowed earth and how he found hollowed earth. He flew inside. He stopped. He was approached by the Intergalactic Federation, which was down there talking to the people on hollowed earth. And they were talking to him about how he can go back and he can notify the world about hollow earth and aliens and everything like that, but he cannot tell them about the advancements in civilization that they have down there, because they were technology like way advanced, UFOs, stuff like that, anti-gravity. And so 15, and you can look this up, it's all on, like, unfortunately it's all on the internet, so people can be like, oh, it's fake, but there's proof. United States government does talk about him. Anyways, he after 15 days later, he was the only person besides his scientist that came back. Everybody else was either they were claimed dead, but he came back with his scientist, and he started telling stories about hollowed earth. And they immediately put him in a sane asylum, said he was crazy, started trying to discredit him, said there's no way that's possible. After 2 months of him being in a sane asylum, he gets out and he goes hush hush and doesn't talk about it, right? Well, now fast forward, I think it was 15 or 20 years later, he starts putting out pieces about hollowed earth and stuff like that. And of course, he gets killed and he's gone. But the whole thing is that I think that it's something that when someone, you or I, any of us, starts coming out with these theories or something, and people listen to us, right? Like, yo, most of my following on TikTok, I have like almost 67,000, love the conspiracy theories. Like, they eat that shit up, bro. I do murder mystery too, but they love the conspiracies. And there's something to be said behind that. That means the whole world doesn't trust what they see right in front of them, and they're willing to question it, right?
Yep.
And I think that's healthy. It's when you're blind and you believe what the next person tells you as God honest truth. There's a problem, you know what I mean? And I think that this whole government, this whole government pushing down on people that say they have these experience, you're just silencing something that, you know, you're making it look more suspicious now at this point in time.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I've heard some wacky shit about Hollow Earth, and it's,
what have you heard?
So pretty much I've heard that well, there was a conspiracy that Amelia Earhart got caught inside of, they call it Agartha, I believe.
Yep, exactly. You're correct.
And but then it was debunked because I think they found Amelia Earhart in some island in Indonesia.
Really?
I think she was found recently. I know one of my friends. We were in Seattle. We were at the Museum of Aerospace. And there was a whole thing for Amelia Earhart, and I was like, damn, I can't believe they never caught her. And I never found her. And it's like, oh yeah, like 3 years ago they realized they found there was like evidence of her landing in Indonesia. And I'm like, oh, okay. But the conspiracy was, so my girlfriend's right here. So the Agartha, essentially, it's funny because the first time I ever heard of Agartha was in Black Ops 2 Zombies.
Yeah, boy.
But the whole thing about Agartha is it's a civilization inside of Earth where they say there's still dinosaurs luring around. There is 10-foot tall people lying around, giants.
Yep.
And they're essentially, it's like a perfect utopia where everything is perfect. Where they have like, there's no disease, there's no nothing. It's just because they've already evolved so far past beyond that. And whereas the entire planet essentially is the ghetto.
Yeah, they call us the stinky surface walkers.
Yeah, we're the ghetto compared to them. And so they're saying there's two entrances, which is either the North Pole and the South Pole.
Yeah,
and which is, there's a lot of interesting things because in Google Earth, if you see the North Pole and the South Pole, it's like blurred out. They purposely blur the poles, and you can't fly over it. And if you go to Antarctica, it can only be on a scientific expedition, and like you're extremely monitored, and you can't even go to where that is. And they won't even tell you where it is, but you can't even go there.
Yeah.
So that's something I find extremely interesting. But I personally, well, I'll put it out there, I'm not a flat earther, so I don't. Yeah, I don't believe in the ice wall. That to me is a little crazy.
I'll say that I'm willing to. I've never gave flat Earth a chance. Like, I've never really dove into it and researched it because I understand gravity, I understand laws of physics, and that's my problem with Agartha, right? If there's a hole in the middle of the world, you've just now shot a hole in physics and gravity. So like the theory of gravity. And so it's hard for me to necessarily buy into it, but there's also unexplained phenomenons that happen all the time. You know what I mean? Like, what if the hole in the middle of the earth creates some type of like gravity vacuum, which then flips the polarity inside of, you know, hollow earth, which makes gravity different. So like,
I mean, it's the same way where like if you dropped a pebble, if you made a hole that goes clean through the earth, you drop a pebble, it's gonna go all the way down and come all the way back up.
Yep, exactly.
And it's gonna keep doing that until at one point it's just stuck floating in the middle.
Yep, until the pressure evens out. Exactly.
There's a funny video where it's like, if you ever fall in a hole that goes clean through the earth, as soon as you feel like your speed is slowing down, grab a hold of something because you're about to fall all the way back the other way.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh yeah, Hollow Earth is real, all this is real, but I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not saying it's not.
I will go on record and say the Earth is not flat, though.
Yeah, the Earth is not flat. We just had 2 billionaires going to space, live streamed, that people watched in person, and they didn't hit some glass some glass dome.
Feeling.
Yeah. So it's funny, I had a guy, he was extremely scary convincing the way he talked to me. I used to work at AT&T, and I would meet crazy people. In Fort Lauderdale, you meet all types of people. And I had some dude, I forgot his name. He came in and he was dressed very like peace and love, very like eccentric.
Yeah.
And he had a bunch of like zodiac stuff. And I asked him like, oh, like what do you do? He's like, oh, I am an astral projector person or something.
Really?
So I'm like, the only time I've ever heard of that was in Insidious and in the Conjuring movies.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got kind of creeped out. So he starts telling me, and I'm like, just out of curiosity. I thought it was going to offend him, but it didn't. I was like, are you a flat earther? And he's like, 100%, 100%, 100%. And then he starts going in depth with me about heaven and hell and all this stuff. And he's pretty much telling me that I forgot what this type of person is called. Because he was saying, yeah, that we're in a dome, essentially this glass dome, and on the outside of us is a water.
Yeah, I just recently saw something about this.
Yeah, it's some liquid, and the sun and the moon are inside of the dome.
Yeah.
So, but it's weird because there have been videos of a cloud going behind the sun, and it was kind of creepy. And I was like, whoa. But he starts telling me about like how we're all in this dome, and he was saying there was no ice wall because he says we're in a dome. We're encapsulated. And then I'm like, so what's beyond it? And he's like, oh, those are like, there's a name for it, but he does say there are higher beings, and that there's no religion. He said that if you're a good person, there's tiers to your goodness.
Yeah.
And you'll go to a certain place when you die for your goodness. So if you're some like holy saint person, amazing person, you'll go to the best version of heaven you can ever imagine. But if you're a whatever person, you're gonna go to whatever place. You're not gonna be in hell burning, but you're just gonna be like in a hotel lobby, like, you know what I mean? But then if you're a shit person, like there's levels to your shittiness as well. And he's saying to the worst of the worst, this was the part that gave me chills. He was like, before you die, you'll see a black dragon that comes and picks you up and takes you to this place where he described it as, or the way I imagined it was, he takes you to this place where it's like you're in the middle of a volcano. He dumps you in the volcano, and you feel the most agonizing pain that never goes away for eternity.
Yeah.
So that's what he says. And he was telling me about this dude, because he's like, look it up. There's stories everywhere about people seeing that dragon, because there's people who have near-death experiences that are shitty people.
Yeah.
And they'll explain, no, yeah, they become good. But what I'm saying is they'll have this near-death experience where they're dead for a few minutes, and they'll explain in depth, and they all have the same story from all different places around the world, seeing this fucking dragon come pick them up, take them to this agonizing pain where they thought they were there for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And then after that, they get picked back up and put in a judge chamber where you get judged, and they play everything that happened in your life.
Damn.
And then he was sitting there, and the guy, he was explaining to the dude, he was like some rapist, he was a horrible person, and they played everything that he did for him in front of him. And they're like, do you want to die now, or do you want to go back and change that? And he's like, give me a second chance. So he went back, he made amends, he turned himself in, he got clean, he did so many things. He became a speaker for the community. He like, and there's stories about, there's stories about people just doing this about and explaining the same thing. So that scared the crap. That day I was shook. That day I left home for work, like,
well, I mean, near-death experience, there's something to be said about that when people have these visions. Now, whether or not you're spiritual or not, and you think that it's connection to the other world, that's up to you. But I think there's something to be said that when you die, you have this experience and you come back and you're able to draw a meaning from it. I think that is very real, and that is what is the difference between someone that's going to make it and come back and be able to, change their life, and somebody that's not. I think a lot of the people that die, they get those visions and they're not in acceptance of any of it, or they want to deny that they were a bad person or they were a good person, and then they don't get a chance to come back necessarily.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, they sit in the judge chamber.
That's that. The way he described it was just so real in
I
front of
feel
me.
like it's called like pantheism I saw somebody do a video just recently because when Bezos went to space, I saw some dude do a video because he like talked with his hands and he like made slight gestures where people were like, oh, see, he like they asked him about Earth and he was like, oh, it's great. And so he like made a flat thing and then he made the dome picture. And so he was like, oh, see, like some dude was like, look, he's telling us that it's flat and there's a dome. And so he was talking about exactly what you're talking about, but I can't remember the conspiracy.
No, it's a creepy outlook. The thing that kills me is not knowing and probably never gonna know.
What's after?
No. Like, unless we go to space, we'll never know if we're like what our actual situation is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I believe in the moon landing. You know, there's an
You
interesting.
don't think the moon landing was fake?
Nah.
Really? You don't think Buzz Aldrin? Oh, bro. Oh,
I
wow.
do believe in something else about the moon landing though.
What's that?
So I believe in the moon landing. For one, it was on MythBusters, and there was a bunch of people like did it, and a lot of stuff came back. Like, yeah, it's possible. Like, there's like they say that, oh, there's a picture of Buzz Aldrin standing behind with a shadow. There's no way you should be able to see him because there's no light anywhere else.
Yeah.
Then they replicated it in a bunch of different experiments, and there is, because there's light emanating from the surface of the moon. There's Earth's light. So there's an interview that it was Buzz Aldrin died. It's the other one.
Buzz Aldrin just recently died, right?
No, am I talking about Buzz? Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah, I think he's still alive.
Yeah, Buzz Aldrin's still alive. I'm talking about the one who
Neil
died.
Armstrong?
Neil Armstrong.
Yeah.
So there was three of them. There was three astronauts that went to the moon. Just one never left the ship. Apparently, there's some interview because when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin came back, Buzz Aldrin became the spokesperson for everything. Neil Armstrong didn't want to talk to anyone. He came back a shriveled person, like he was like shook, like he didn't want to talk to anyone.
Like he saw some shit.
Yeah, and there's apparently an interview that Armstrong said that when they got to the moon, there was 6 ships hovering, just watching every move they were making and just studying them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they had a conversation with them or if they ever had any interaction with them, but I know that he said there were 6 ships, like they were waiting for them on the moon. People say it's the Intergalactic Federation, like that was mankind's first step into interstellar travel. So maybe that was that. But that was creepy because then Buzz Aldrin was like the government puppet because he was the spokesperson. He wasn't even the first person to walk on the moon, and he's the one talking the most to everyone. And there was whatever, he kind of fell off the public eye a couple of years ago, but he did. They invited him to Antarctica 7 years ago or something, and he took a picture. Yeah, Buzz Aldrin. Okay. And he took a picture of a pyramid and tweeted it. And he said, "We should all be scared. This is the face of true evil." And then he deleted the tweet, and then it got deleted everywhere. And people like screenshotted it because they were scared, like creeped out. Yeah. And they're like, "No, it never happened. He never tweeted that." The government's like, "No, he never tweeted that." Like when the government goes out of the way to tell people that he didn't tweet that, he probably tweeted that.
Yeah. It's like why would you even touch that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you want it to not be real, you just leave it alone. You don't even
acknowledge it. Yeah. Just delete it, not even acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But
have you heard the theory that you know who Stanley Kubrick is?
Stanley Kubrick, yeah.
Okay, so have you heard the theory that there is an interview with him where he talks about how he was part of one of the biggest cover-ups in United States history so far, which was the moon landing. He said, yes, at some point we did land on the moon, but the first video of the moon landing is totally fake. And he goes on to talk about him filming it and all this stuff. And then, he died shortly after this, which makes it all more conspiracy. But he goes through it and he talks about like the reason we did that, which, okay, this is where my mind is like, okay, it could be true because America has this ego thing, right? As an American, I can say I have an ego too. And so like there's this ego around America or Americans that we have to be first, we got to be the best. And so to keep us pushing forward instead of the Russians beating us to space or anybody, they made this video supposedly. So that way we hail the first ones on the moon.
Mm.
Just the way that in the interview that he was so compassionate about it, it makes me feel like he wasn't crazy and he was telling the truth. And it also, because of all the cover-ups the United States government's already been caught in doing, that it makes me almost feel like it could be real. I believe we've been to space. Everybody in the live chat right now was being like, no, we landed. Yes, no, we didn't. So I'm kind of laughing because like, to me, it's like, yeah, we definitely went to space and we've definitely probably landed by now, but I have a hard time believing that the first time we went, we actually made it.
That, you know what, I can believe that. I mean, I can get behind that. So there's also the whole thing where Neil Armstrong's boot is different.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's a picture of his entire astronaut suit in a museum, and the bottom of his boot is different tread than the famous picture of footprint.
That's something to be said.
So, I mean, maybe they took that off or something to keep it, but I don't know. I believe that the U.S. is capable of hiding whatever the fuck they want to hide.
Yeah, bro.
And I can totally get behind their ego being so fat that they want to, like, yeah, no, we didn't land on the moon. I mean, we landed on the moon just to tell the Russians that we're there first.
Yeah. So that way it keeps everything moving forward. You know what I mean? What happens if the Russians beat us? Well, then the space program gets not as much funded because now we aren't the forefront of space exploration. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so to keep that money flowing, I mean, that's just one theory, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm still sticking with we did land on the moon personally.
Yeah.
But kind of 180 this real quick. Have you seen that Beyonce video?
Are you talking about the devil video?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll be honest, I had seen it in passing a few times, and when Nikki sent me what we're talking about on the podcast, I saw that was one of the first things on the list, and I was kind of like, I believe in Satan. I mean, I'm all about that shit, right? So like, I was like, okay, let's look into it. So before we got on this podcast, I kind of just did a quick little view over it. So now go ahead and go on with what you're gonna say.
So I find it interesting because I know her and Jay-Z are into some fucked up shit. I know, yeah, 100%. Them, Kardashians, Kanye, the Clintons, everybody. Like,
the Clintons.
Yeah. She's a straight up wizard. But
we're on the same. Cool.
But it could be eyeshadow. It really could be her eyeshadow. But
you saw that thing too about how they're like, oh yeah, it's an eyeshadow effect, blah blah blah, because of the pigmentation and then it mirrored back light.
Something I did notice though was I've seen Beyonce a couple times on stage. Sometimes she has like this like glow to her. She's like beautiful. Mm-hmm. Something about that video, she just seemed off.
Mm-hmm.
It just looked so weird to me, that whole video. Mm-hmm. And then that happens, and it wasn't just the eyes, like her whole face kind of morphed.
Oh, 100%. No, I'm in agreement with you. Her whole face.
Her whole face kind of morphed, and yeah, it was weird. And her hair moved in such a way where it was like planned. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So I find it creepy. I think that could have been something, because I know those fuckers are into some weird shit. They eat babies, you know, adrenochrome and all that stuff. So
I'm in the mindset that okay, Satanism in itself doesn't necessarily, I have a whole theory on that about how the Christian God itself that everybody worships actually the wrong God. They're actually worshiping the devil. The devil is the true God, if you want to get into it, but that's a whole other thing. But doing occult rituals where you're doing, you know, like you're saying, eating children to get adrenochrome, all these things, I think that is very real. I think that there's been enough proof out there, right? We've seen enough proof. I mean, how does it go that what's the guy from Fear and Loathing Las Vegas?
Johnny Depp?
Well, yeah, but the real
the writer?
Yeah, I can't think of his name right now. What is his name, guys? Somebody knows it. Anyways, it'll come to me. Anyways, he talks about in that movie and in his books that about adrenochrome, right?
Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah, Hunter S. Thompson. Thank you. He talks about adrenochrome and how they get harvested from people's brains, yada yada yada, all this stuff, right? Then fast forward like 7 years later, you start seeing adrenochrome pop up in different medications. And it was like this whole like, okay, it's not, because when it came out, they're like, oh, it's not real. Adrenochromes, no, you can't do that. And then all of a sudden, 7 years later, it's starting to be in things like epinephrine and Narcan, which Narcan's to, bring somebody back from an overdose. And so like, if you look at the ingredients, it's on there. So then where are they harvesting it from? Synthetically? Well, it wouldn't be called adrenochrome then, right?
Mm-hmm. It's also, they put it in our faces.
Yeah, you noticed this too, okay.
Like The Rock in an interview with a kid on Good Morning America, because they were talking, he was like, I probably drink adrenochrome, like he's making like joke about it. Yeah. And then the kid asked him about it, like some 10-year-old kid, like 12-year-old kid, and he's like, oh, how old are you? And he's like, I'm 12. And I'm like, oh, you have to be under 10 for us to take it. And they're just like,
well, that's the thing, bro, is I firmly believe in conditioning, right?
Yeah.
They're going to tell us, they're going to start telling, just like aliens. How long have they been making movies and telling us aliens aren't real, but then they've been making movies about it, and now they're starting to tell us the reveal that aliens are real. Yeah. So that's my thought process on adrenochrome, is that, okay, it started popping up in movies, started popping up all over here, then it pops up in medicine, and then all of a sudden the elites start talking about it and start joking around about it. Like Joe Biden just the other day said, I don't care if the Republican Party thinks the Democrats sucking blood from little children. He said, I don't care if you think I'm the reincarnation of Satan. As the fucking president of United States, why would you ever say that?
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to condition people for when the reveal comes.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason other than to say that.
It's definitely creepy. And also, have you seen Ellen DeGeneres recently?
Dude, I heard she got canceled hard, huh?
She got canceled hard, and it looks like her supply got shut off.
Really? Is she
just looks like she aged 100 years.
Sure.
If you look at Mark Wahlberg posted a picture of her a couple days ago, like a week ago. He's like, oh, she was wearing one of his shirts or something, and he posted a picture of her, and every comment's like, damn, I got hit hard ever since her supply got shut off.
Of course, I'm looking it up real quick.
Yeah, no, it's on Mark Wahlberg's Instagram.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I you're right. Yeah, I firmly believe that. I don't want to say necessarily every celebrity or every rich person or every politician, but I do believe that it does run in their circles. That not only could it be adrenochrome, but I very firmly believe in human trafficking and sex trafficking and all this stuff going on, like
sacrifices and yeah.
I have a buddy on here on TikTok named Revo Wave. He's a rapper named Reeve Kalel. Dude's amazing. He's got like 500,000 followers. And me and him converse all the time. We talk back and forth, and a couple of the phone conversations we've had, he's put me in rabbit holes where he'll tell me something, just a little bit, a little thing, and then I'll just go off, right? And he told me about the Van Nuys Airport. Have you ever heard about that?
Van Nuys Airport? No.
Yeah, it's in LA. And so there's a lot of different weird shit that goes on around there. There was a guy that got pulled over by the police after he went on like a 2-hour police run. Like he was running from the police in a car, and they finally get him pulled over. And when they start talking to him, he starts talking about how they were trying to kidnap him and put him in human trafficking, and he's just trying to escape, and that's why he was running. They ended up putting this guy into the sane asylum because he was crazy. Then 2 blocks from, there's a furniture store that's in question, just like that website that was selling cabinets, Wayfair.
Yeah, for like $12,000 with the name of a kid.
Yeah, we found another place that basically was doing the same thing. And at one point, someone called and was talking to the cabinet store and started asking questions. And through that, we found out it's not an actual cabinet store. You have to order any of the stuff you want for cabinets through a website that's in Germany. So all they are supposed like warehouse. Well, somebody went by there, another person that's working on this conspiracy theory went by there, and the place was totally empty besides a desk and a phone and a person. So then it leads you to think like, okay, so this is a big industrial cabinet warehouse, but it's empty as hell, and there's only one person inside. It backs to the end of like the shop itself. The back door opens to the airport, like literally the landing pad and everything is right there. Runway, sorry, is right there. There's also next to the cabinet store. This is the last thing I'm going to say about it. I'm going to let you go research it yourself, or anybody that's listening to the podcast. So you remember when Sean Penn flew to meet El Chapo?
Yeah.
And it was like, how the hell did he do this? Well, there is a black market private jet airline named, I'll let you go look for it. I don't want to give too much, but it's right next door to the cabinet place. And that's the place that flew Sean Penn. So what is this place that's right next door? That's a black market, airliner that they fully admit that they fly people under the books and, keep it very hush hush. What is that doing in the same place where there's this cabinet store that has nothing in it? To make it even better than that, down the road, there's a place called Arcade US. And that is a porn shop that installs arcade machines that you have to have a specialized card to use to be able to get certain videos off. So there's like you go in, you'll get, I like these type of videos, and they put it on your card, and that's the only thing you can access. But say you're a predator or a pedo and you tell them that, maybe they put videos that you can see on that card. So we started looking into this Arcade US. Well, the person that owns the cabinet store also conveniently owns USA Arcades. Well, we start looking into it more, and one of the top presidents for US Arcades is also a guy who has a booth at Comic-Con, which his product is at Comic-Con every year, day in and day out at Comic-Con. So it's a weird coincidence that all these things are connected. And so I don't want to give too much away, like I said, but
no, we'll definitely be looking into that. That's crazy.
That's a good rabbit hole.
But
what I was getting at is that when you brought up Beyonce and the devil thing, while like I said, I have a logic mind, I can be like, okay, it could have been the eyeshadow, all this stuff. You and I both have already said it. They're into a lot of weird shit, right? And to me, the significance of all that weird shit, and then this anomaly happening to her that was supposed to be eyeshadow. Okay, maybe it was eyeshadow, but I think it's to not try to be pun, but I think it was foreshadowing for what she does. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that no matter how much you try to cover something up, negative energy is going to come out somewhere.
Yeah.
And fortunately for you, Beyonce, it came out in the middle of, a dance
concert.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm actually having another TikToker on my podcast Tuesday. Aiden Mathis.
Okay, I'll have to check him out.
Yeah, he does a bunch of conspiracy stuff too, and we were DMing back and forth about the Beyonce video. He's like, yeah, he's the same way as both of us. He looks at everything with a logic mind, but the thing I can't grasp my head around is the whole video felt off.
Yeah,
like, I don't know. Like I feel like I don't believe in astrology. I don't believe in. I was born on a Saturday. I'm September, so that means I like Cheetos or not.
Yeah.
But I do believe in energies, and I do believe in people. I can read somebody's energy. I could look at someone and be like, oh, that guy's happy. That guy is fucking pissed. Person's sad. And normally, you look at Beyonce, and she just seems like she's dancing, she's doing whatever. But that whole video, she just seemed like on edge or off. I don't know. And the eyeshadow showed that her whole face morphed, and it was.
She was on demon time, bro.
Yeah, legit demon time.
Yeah, but, I'm in agreement with you. Like I said, I didn't go down the rabbit hole too hard on that one, but I am in the mindset that you want to call them celebs, the elites, whoever. There is some weird shit going on. Whether it's harvesting adrenaline chrome, child trafficking, whatever. There's some weird shit going on. Point blank.
And then there was, Bad Baby.
Yeah,
she came out and she said that it was leaked, that a conversation she had about her being with like the Kardashians and the elites and the elitists and like sacrificing babies and drinking goat blood or some shit like that. It's fucking weird.
Somebody in the chat room just said, once you sell your soul, they have total control. 100%.
100%. No, I don't fucking believe in fucking selling your soul for 50, 60 years of glory and then eternity of horribleness.
I don't necessarily believe sacrificing yourself or selling it over will make you prosper, but I do believe in things like MK Ultra.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is control at some level.
Yeah, 100%.
And even if you want to break it down to the basis of like, okay, psychology, like this is what you have to do in order to succeed, and you want to succeed, so you're willing to do X, Y, and Z, and put yourself in situations that you normally wouldn't to have godly amount of money. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
People make real sacrifices to do that. You know what I mean? And it's not necessarily even like religious sacrifices or an effigy of a body or anything like that. It's hard work and time is a sacrifice in itself, right?
Yeah.
You are putting too much hard work and time into something that's negative.
I mean, that's why personally I really hate that people say eat the rich. Or like people get mad at Jeff Bezos for being rich as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you really want to like look at it, you're mad that you didn't work as hard as he did.
Yeah.
And you're mad that this man started in a basement somewhere with Amazon written on toilet paper
Mhm.
and is now going to space. Like,
Yeah.
people are just.
Well, I think for me, I'm more mad about the way he treats his employees. I don't give
Oh,
a
I
shit.
agree 100%. I have a friend who is a supervisor at Amazon. And he
Mhm.
said that he gets treated awesome, but he's a supervisor.
Yeah.
But he says that the employees there that they, on purpose they have high turnaround rates. They want that.
Yeah,
They
sure.
want to have people coming in and leaving and coming in and leaving, coming in and
Yeah.
leaving, because that means there's always
The next guy coming in, you don't have to raise the price.
exactly. And
they give it their all too. It's a new job.
yeah, realistically, it's not that they get treated horribly. It's just that it's just unnecessary conditions.
Yeah.
Like not being able to sit is a little dumb. Or if you look at your phone for 2 minutes, you get written up, and then if you get written up 2 times, not even 3, you get like a conversation, then you get fired.
Yeah.
To me, just if you're working at Amazon, you could get another job. You could get a different job. You pick to work at Amazon. Yeah.
I mean, I think not to be off topic, but I think a lot of people through COVID, through being off for a year, realize they don't have to work for these shitty corporations or work for a job they hate. They can do just this little bit to get by, and even if they're struggling to get by, it's better than being unhappy.
That's why I quit AT&T, man. I was there for 3.5 years, and I was under I loved my coworkers, and the job wasn't bad. I was good at what I was doing, but fucking management, bro. My manager was a nightmare human being. She felt like she owned me. Like that's really what it was like. And it's funny because the day I told her I was quitting because I got another job, she completely switched up on me. She went from being this crazy psychopathic person, like she was dead ass crazy.
Yeah.
And when I told her I was quitting, she's like, "You deserve it. Oh my God, I'm so happy for you. Between us, I'm quitting too, like super soon. I can't take it anymore." I'm like, where's this coming from? Like,
Yeah.
where was this cool, chill person when I was working here?
Yeah.
But now I'm quitting, and you're cool.
She got what she wanted. You know what I mean? She got you.
Yeah.
She got the
Yeah.
that she needs to keep going.
I didn't want to quit until I had a better job, and thankfully I found one, and I'm doing that. But in the meantime, I really want I've always been a huge fan of podcasting, and then my girlfriend. Shout out to Nicole. Big shout out to Nicole.
Big shout out to Nicole.
Thank you very much.
Because she's the one who's like, "Babe, just fucking do it, bro. Just get the podcast. Let's do it. Let's sit down and do it."
Yeah,
and
she wrangled me, and I mean, she
she's amazing. I've been the last like couple guests I've been getting them, and I'm like, "Nikki, listen, I want you to be." She wants to be the manager. I'm like, "I want you to be the person who gets the guests."
Right.
And then she got you, and she was so excited, and we were talking about it, and she's doing such a good job. She's doing such a good job.
It was funny when Nikki hit me up. So I had posted the Miami condo video. This will be a good segue into that, right? I posted that Miami condo video, and Nikki hit me shortly after that, maybe a few days after it went viral. And then I've gotten like 6 or 7 podcasts that have hit me up after that. And then all of a sudden it just like died, because I think what happened is like my video went viral. Everybody was excited to try to get me onto their show. And then I didn't have a ton of viral posts afterwards. Like my posts do pretty well. They get a couple thousand views, and sometimes they'll go a couple 100,000. It just happened that video went in one day 7.8 million views, and then it proceeded to get 11.1 million views over the next couple of days, that people were like, oh, you're going to be some big TikToker, let's pull you in. And so a lot of people faded off, but Nikki was always constant. And I mean, you guys got me in. So I had 2 other people that have done it. And I'll be honest, now my account's starting to grow again, and I'm getting all these calls for podcasts. So I just wanted to say before we go on, I appreciate you guys asking me to come on, even though, you know, I'm not some 200,000 followers, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool that you saw the conspiracy and you saw the work that I'm doing, and you're like, yeah, we want this guy.
Come here.
You're
Come here.
That's why I want to meet him.
She wants to meet you. But
That's horrible.
but no, we don't give a fuck, bro. We have like 250 listeners on Spotify, like 300 listeners on Apple Podcasts,
We're not
and like
crazy.
40 subscribers on YouTube. So it's like,
No, that's pretty good, man. And don't try to downplay that.
I'm just saying, like, we everybody starts somewhere, and if I'm ever blessed enough to get to the point where like I'm like
Hi, Nikki.
I'm like some top tier podcaster or like known, I'm not gonna say no to the little guy, because we're all the
little guy is gonna be somewhere else someday. Yeah,
exactly. So it's like, I've been really, really appreciative of people like you coming on, because I've had you on. I'm a huge gym nut, so I've had Daniel Rajov. He's another TikToker who is benching 700 pounds. Yeah, I had him come on yesterday or 2 days ago. We talked about the gym. I had Dog the Bounty Hunter's daughter.
No.
Yeah.
What?
She came
How'd
on.
you land that?
Bro, I just DM'd her.
Really? Is she in Florida? Or was it a Zoom?
Hawaii. It was
so she did a Zoom like we're doing. Okay.
Yeah, she was awesome. She was so cool. She was like our first big catch.
That's super cool.
And then little by little, we had a marine biologist come on, Fabian. He was super cool. And we have Adam coming on, who has like 500,000 followers. I don't know how. It's just, I'm just not afraid of
doing the work. That's what it is. You know what I mean? You keep doing the work, and that's what's going to happen.
I see you, bro. You're fucking clearly dedicated to your craft. And
and you're credible. Like you know your shit.
Like you said,
I was like, I gotta get him, bro.
You research your shit. So it's like,
I try. We're working on it. I can't give too much information, but we're working on a project right now where there's going to be basically like a Discord, basically, where you can go to, you'll get added in by the admins, and you can go in and you'll be able to look at different conspiracy theories or different stories or whatever, and everything will be cited. So you'll be able to go in, you'll see the work that, say, me, the admin, has done. Say I post the conspiracy about JFK, and then I'll go through it. I'll talk about everything that happened from my research. I'll put all the different sightings that I have, so that way people can go back and reference, you know, the different stuff I use to make this. And then say somebody wants to add something in, they can comment and add different stuff in. But it ultimately would be on the admin to add it in. So we're going to try to grow this so that way, because TikTok has a lot of what is it called, like content banning, or, you know, they shadow ban.
They're hardcore. They banned our first, because we were trying to get into TikTok. We're trying to make little clips from our podcast and put them on TikTok. And we were talking about Megalodon, and there's a super famous Nazi picture of a Megalodon. It's a Nazi submarine with a fin behind it and a tail fin that, by looking at how big the submarine is, you can tell that from the dorsal fin to the tail fin is 60 feet. So I was like, damn, that's a huge Megalodon thing right there. We posted a video saying the word Nazi, and it got taken down.
Really?
Yeah. We had to repost it because we had captions on it. So we reposted it and just put an X wherever Nazi would pop up.
Huh, that's weird. So I just recently put, like right before I got on your thing, I'm doing a special on revealing the 17th letter, which is QAnon. Yeah. And so I posted a video, and in it I was like, I started getting a lot of DMs when I posted the first one, of these people that I guess assumed because I'm white and all these things that they could talk to me on a level of racism and I would be okay with it. And they were like, oh, I just want to talk to somebody that's level-headed, and you seem level-headed. And then so they start arguing my research about who Q is, and then they start saying Nazi propaganda and rhetoric. And at that point, I'm just like, you've lost me. The conversation's done. And so I put the last video I put out, I was like, hey, if you hit me up and you want to talk and it's fact-based, I'm down. But the minute you say Nazi propaganda, I'm out. So I'm curious once I get off live if it's been banned because I said Nazi, like you said.
Yeah, no. I mean, if it was in your subtitles, probably. That's what happened to us.
Yeah.
But listen, Zan, this was fucking sick, dude.
Right.
Like
Oh my gosh, thank you.
You have no idea how appreciative we are of you coming on, man.
Yeah, of course.
And we really hope
appreciate it too.
if you're ever down, do it again someday.
Yeah, I think next time. So I really wanted to come out to South Florida
Awesome.
and be able to do it in person.
Let's do it.
And I was totally about to do it, and then my grandma who lives out there is out here right now, so it just didn't make sense for me to fly out there and miss her.
Yeah.
So maybe in the next few months down the road, we can plan something, and I can come out. And we can do it in person.
100%.
Amazing.
100%. 100%.
We would have you. We would love to have you because we have a whole setup. Because like on Zoom we have the office, and we would have the setup, the mics, the lights. Action,
that's awesome.
And we'll go deep.
And like I said, man, like in the future, if you're willing, if you want to do some content where you go out and you go, you know, into the field looking for something or any of that stuff, holler at me. I'm down.
100%.
I have a buddy that he's got a little following starting. He's got like 15K, and he just hit me up and was talking about going to look for Loch Ness Monster. And I was like, let's do it, bro. Like, why not?
Get Nelly, bro. Go get Nelly.
Yeah.
No, 100%. If we ever do those watching, you're the first person I'm gonna hit up for.
Awesome.
But we really appreciate you coming on, bro. And I'm gonna bump your podcast because we have like 5 podcasts like filmed ready to go. You're just coming out. You're just coming out Monday. You're getting bumped up to this Monday, all right?
Sick.
All right, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. And thanks for hitting me up. I have another podcast I'm about to go speak on, and that one I'm going deep on Bohemian Grove. Cool. So next time, if we do one, we'll have to pick a subject and we'll go hard on it.
Just go hardcore on that subject.
For sure. Yeah,
for sure.
That'd be great.
Sounds great, man.
All right. I appreciate you guys.
Keep in touch. Thank you so much.
See you next time.
Bye. See ya.